Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and I am reading Dungeons & Dragons, Frost Giant's Fury, issue number 1. This is, guys, Dungeons & Dragons. I mean, combining my two favorite hobbies, comic books and Dungeons & Dragons. Jeez, I'm in love with this. So this is an IDW imprint, so same guys who do Transformers and all that good stuff. And this is apparently the third miniseries for these adventurers. The first one was Legends of Baldur's Gate, and the next one was Shadows of the Vampire. Now, Shadows of the I don't know how long Baldur's Gate went for, but it seems that Shadows of the Vampire was a miniseries that went for about 5 issues, and it ended with them having to run away as fast as they can from Strahd over in the Ravenloft realm. So, very cool. And right now they got out of Ravenloft. Now, that wouldn't happen back in the earlier days of Dungeons and Dragons. Whatever happens in Ravenloft stays in Ravenloft, and so do you. So apparently now you can escape from Ravenloft. I haven't read the latest Ravenloft stuff, but anyway, so they got out and they're in the spine of the world up north. I'm hoping to have them come across 10 towns or at least Drizzt at some point, but this is the Frost Giant's Fury. And let's see, what we have here is Minsk, and he is the ranger of the party. He and his pet Boo, he's a human, but Boo is himself a miniature giant space hamster. I'm going to say that again because that was kind of freaky, all right? He is a miniature giant space hamster. It seems pretty basic to me, I don't know, but Boo. Okay, cool. So he can apparently talk to the hamster at any point and yell at it, go for the eyes, Boo. Interesting. We've also got Delina. Now, Delina is a wild magic sorceress moon elf. She originally comes from Baldur's Gate, and her twin brother, Deniak, is missing, and she's trying to find him. Apparently, something to do with the dragon cult. So that's one of the things I love about Dungeons & Dragons is the background. The background story is one of the things that really makes for the missions. Now, we've also got Criddle. He's a partial noble blood, thief, bastard, half-elven son of Corin. I have no idea who that is, but apparently he's somebody upper class in Baldur's Gate. And best friend, Shandy, literal partner in crime, according to the comic, partner in crime with Criddle. She's a halfling rogue. The newest member of the team is Neris. Now, she is a cleric of Kelemvor, the god of death, which is very cool. You might think, oh no, a cleric of the god of death. Yeah, but she's really, really good against the undead, which is awesome. And they actually found her in Ravenloft, apparently. So she got wounded really bad by Strahd as they were running away. So their healer is dying. So these guys are basically walking lost in the spine of the world, don't really know exactly where they are. They need to find shelter. Apparently, this isn't the ranger's element of choice because he has no idea what he's doing, but they wind up falling through the ice into a cave, and that cave allows them to set up a fire and try and get warm, but they're going to wind up dying of starvation. And guys, this is just one of the things that I love about Dungeons & Dragons is it's not just about the hack and slash, it's about surviving. And, I played a really great game recently where it was all about surviving. We actually wound up going into the Underdark where the Drow are. If you don't know what I'm talking about, guys, you got to get a game going with me. Dungeons & Dragons, it's where it's at. So they hear some noise outside, and the cave leads to a exit entrance, and right outside, not too far away, are ogres, and they've got a huge deer with them. Now, of course, they're going to eat this thing, but maybe these guys can steal it from them. In the meantime, they left their fire on, and by leaving the fire on, there is a bright light coming from a cave in the snow that the ogres, even the dumb ogres, notice. And then they're like, oh, put it out. It's like, no, you moron. Now there's smoke. So now the ogres realize, oh, whatever that is in there, it's fresh meat. So they go and try to attack these guys, and the ogres are actually winning in a really big way because these guys just don't really stand much of a chance. And I love what's happening here. You can tell when there's a really good roll for a hit. You can tell when there's a critical failure. The wounds are actually something that people are actually going to feel. Guys, this is one of the things about reading a Dungeons & Dragons comic book that you're usually not going to find in a superhero comic, even something like a Batman comic where the stakes could actually be pretty high. No, one of the ogres actually whacks the sorceress in the back, and she cracks a couple of ribs, and that's not going away. So now she has to fight with, injuries like this. It's not like some superficial wound where somebody holds their shoulder and ow, but they're still able to fight. No. their cleric is down. She can't do any healing. And now the sorceress is not quite, she's down, but not quite out. So her magic might be ineffective, and she might not be able to help very much, except for a couple little cantrips. And I love that about Dungeons and Dragons and putting that into this comic. These guys are about to die, no joke. But all of a sudden, Savrin, the golden dragonkin, steps out of nowhere, and he's calling himself a scout. And I like that because in reality, he's a ranger, and he's a ranger of these elements. And he is able to help them out with his bow and takes out a couple of these ogres, and now these guys just might very well possibly survive. Introduce each other, and now we've got another member of the party. I love when that happens. So there's a town called Fireshear that's apparently a half a day's away, but they'll be there in no time as long as Sarvin is leading. Now, just before the comic ends, we see a little aside where Lord Gritmort, who is apparently the head of this frost giant clan, is hanging out, and he's got a pet. It's a white dragon. And man, like, its layers right up ahead of where they are, so these guys know where they're at. And like, it's a bunch of frost giants that has a pet white dragon. Just saying. I'm just saying. These guys happen to be on their way to Fireshear, so you know what's going to happen. And finally, the penultimate, right as the comic ends, we actually get a character sheet out of this. And it's a 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons character sheet, so I'm liking it. One of the things I notice on here is that inspiration is 3. Now, I understand if you guys want a jet because it's, Dungeons & Dragons and maybe you don't get it. But it's one of the things I never really liked about the rules, that inspiration goes away at the end of a gaming session and you can only have 1 maximum. Why? Why is that? You only get inspired once, that's it? So he's got 3 inspiration, so house rule, and I'm digging it. And this is the character sheet for Minsk. And he's got 18 strength, 12 dexterity, 17 constitution, and 10 for his remaining 3 stats, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. So they're not quite dump stats, but yeah, 10. He's average. And I'm not going to read off his entire character sheet, but if you do go out and get this book, and I do recommend that you get this comic, seriously, it is hysterical reading how he wrote the features and traits and all that good stuff on here. It's hysterical. Anyway, guys, I'm going to give this comic an A- because it's just so good. And maybe I'm being particularly biased because it's Dungeons and Dragons, but whatever, man. So like I said, I highly recommend you get this comic. If you don't know Dungeons and Dragons, you can still follow along. If you haven't read the other miniseries, like I haven't read the other miniseries, you don't need to be able to follow along. On top of that, I think I'm going to go out and I'm going to try and hunt down these other series. You know what? I could probably get them online. But the point is, I'm going to try and read these because these are actually really, really fun. So, guys, this is Professor Bill, Comic Book University, class dismissed.